Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get it started with South Carolina. South Carolina currently, they've been a middle of the pack SEC program here recently. I know you know, they've had some success, but they haven't really had anything too eye opening. They don't have any national championships. I'm not sure if they have any conference championships, but last few years they've had. I don't know when their last 10-win season was, but they haven't really had a good past few years. So for that, I think I'm going to put them in the C tier as a SEC football program. They could potentially be in the B tier. I'll put them in the B tier at the end of the B tier, but last year they went 7-6 overall, 3-5 in the conference, and they haven't really had a last few good. I'm actually going to put them in the C tier. At the end, I might change it, but it's opinionated, subject to change. But I am using stats to put these teams in tiers. Arkansas is another one. Last year they went 9-4, so they had a pretty good season, and their quarterback was really good last year, and he's going to be back. I think as a program, I don't know if they have any national championships, but hold on, let me see. No, they don't have any national championships, but I think they are on the rise as a program, and for that reason, I want to throw them in the B tier. They can very easily be a C tier. I can see how some people would have them as a C tier team, but for the reason that they've had some success and they're continuing, and now with the NIL, you're going to see a bunch of crazy recruiting classes. So I'm going to put Arkansas. They're an SEC team too, so for that reason, I'm going to put Arkansas in the B tier. Auburn is the next team on the list, and Auburn is a phenomenal school, a phenomenal SEC school. Last year, I don't know if they had a deep, they had I don't know if they had a good year last year. Let me see. I think they no they didn't. They went a bad year for them. They went 6-7, 3-5 in the conference, but statistically they are a very good program. They have two national championships, and for that reason, you still have to put Auburn in the A tier as a football program. Florida. Florida might be Florida's next on the list, and they might be a little bit harder for me to judge, especially because here recently they haven't been, you know, that good. Now they have three national championships, so obviously as a program, they would be an S tier if they hadn't had the last few years that they have had. So with that being said, I think I'm going to put Florida in the A tier. They could very easily, like I said, they could very easily be an S tier team, but with the last few years that they've had, it's just kind of hard to put them as an S tier program because they've had really lackluster years. Like a bad year for Alabama would still be making it to the SEC championship and still finishing top 10 in the nation. Florida hasn't really done that the last few years. So Missouri, no explanation needed there. They're a D tier team. No national titles. Last year they finished I think they actually had a decent year. Yeah, they finished. They were middle of the pack in the East. 6-7 overall. They were 3-5 in the conference. They play really good at home. They were 5-2 at home, but they were 1-4 on the road. So can't win on the road. But they were a middle of the pack team last year in the SEC, but they're always a middle of the pack team. They can't win when it matters. Uh, Next one, okay, Kentucky. Now, me being from Kentucky, it's kind of biased, I guess you could say, because I'm a Kentucky football fan. But all jokes aside, Kentucky is a B tier football program. They don't have any national championships, but back to back 10-win seasons. Finished second in the East last year. Only loss at home. Who was the only loss at home last year? Was it to did Tennessee beat us at home last year? I can't remember, but only one loss at home. They were 6-1 at home last year and 3-2 on the road. So that's pretty good. Um, they won 4 in a row last year, 5-3 in the conference, 10-3 overall. So back to back 10-win seasons. like 3 or 4 years of in a row of bowl games. So Kentucky's football program is slowly getting up there, and I look for them to have a pretty good year this year. So they could. Kentucky is one of those where I think it's a strong B tier team. Could, if they continue this trend of 10-win seasons, qualifying for bowl games and finishing, top 25 in the nation, they could very easily be an A tier team. But right now, as a program, that's success over, longevity. I'm going to put them at a B. LSU, despite, everything that's going on with them, they got to be an S tier team. They have, I think, 4 national championships without looking. Yeah, they have 4 national championships. Last year they didn't have that good of a year, but I think they finished. Yeah, they finished last in the West. 6-7 record, 3-5, which still isn't terrible. I mean, you're almost going 500 and 3-5 in the conference. So, and that was like last in the West. So a lot of the SEC teams, if they're not playing each other, they're getting wins. So, like I said, LSU has to be an S tier team just because they have to be an S. I'm sorry, they have to be an S tier program just because of the success that they've had in the past, 4 national championships, and they'll continue to get the best recruits. I hope. Who's coaching them now? Chip Kelly. Is Chip Kelly coaching? Chip Kelly. Well, decent coach, really finesse style coach. So maybe they'll get a good recruiting class and be back up to the LSU we know here in a few years. Ole Miss. Um, Ole Miss is one of those weird teams. You got to put them in S tier, I think, because I think they have last year they finished second in SEC West, another 10-win season, 6-2 record, and they have 1 national championship though. It's either S or A. I think they got to be in the A. I think they got to be in the A right now, probably behind Auburn. This is one of those teams that, like, again, another year or two of having as much success that they've had probably goes to an S tier program. But I would say that, you know, Ole Miss in the SEC, with the SEC being the toughest conference in the NCAA, Ole Miss being an A tier team is a really good fit for them. And they're right there with Auburn. Pick your poison. Auburn and Ole Miss are really similar programs. Both compete for SEC championships year in and year out. So I would put Ole Miss as an A tier. Tennessee is the next team, and even though I'm Kentucky, we don't like Tennessee as a football program. You've got to put them in the A tier, just because of the success that they've had in the past 2 national championships. They finished third last year, one behind Kentucky in conference standings. Um, but really, honestly, you could put Tennessee down here in the B tier, even with 2 national championships, because they haven't had a 10-win season just about since they've won the national championship. So, as a program, I don't know if Tennessee is an A tier program. They're probably a B tier program. I'm actually going to put them in the B tier because and I'm going to put them in front of Kentucky because Tennessee, a football program right now, is a better football program than Kentucky. But if Kentucky continues the trend of having as much success that they've had um, in the last 3 to 4 years, they can easily surpass Tennessee. But right now, I'm going to say even with 2 national championships, Tennessee is a B tier football program because they just haven't really had success since those national championships. Yeah, national championships mean a lot, but measuring the success of a program, it's how long can you keep up with that? And for that reason, I don't think Tennessee is an A tier program. I'm going to put them in the B tier. They'll be the first. They'll be the top B tier program though. Texas A&M. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one. No national championships. They've competed for a few. I think they've competed for an SEC championship. Maybe with Manziel. I'm not sure. Or maybe they were close. I'm not positive. Now, them last year they finished with an 8-4 record, 4-4 in the conference. Um, really subpar season last year, with as much talent as they had, and with Jimbo being their coach. But I think I'm going to put them as a B tier team I'm going to put them right there with Arkansas. These two are interchangeable, but I'm going to put or Texas A&M in front of Arkansas. I think they're a very solid program, middle of the pack program right now. But if Jimbo continues with he just got the number one recruiting class, so if he continues this trend of getting these players, he could very easily move up to A here in a few years. But um, once again, just because you get the best kids don't mean you can win as a coach. And so far, we haven't really. I think Jimbo's won 2 national championships, one or two. And so if he can continue to get the best talent, he's already proven that he can win. So I think we'll see if he stays at Texas A&M, which I think he will. We'll see this team, continue to make leaps and bounds up the tier list. But for right now, they're a strong B tier team. Mississippi State, C tier. I don't think there's really much to say about that. Finished middle of the pack last year in the SEC West. I think they had a good year when Dak Prescott was their quarterback, but even then, a very, but even then Kentucky beat them. So that year, no national championships for Mississippi State. I think they are a decent C tier team, but they're for sure a C tier team. Could be a D tier team, but they're always middle of the pack, so I'll put them in C. Alabama, clear favorite, S tier, best SEC program ever. 13, they literally triple the next team down on national championships. They've got 13. Nick Saban's the GOAT, greatest coach ever. He continues to win with the talent he has, and he's an old school coach, so I like him. Alabama, best program ever. Georgia, this is a tough one because they have now they have 2 national championships, and they continue to get the best talent. They continue to get the talent that rivals the Alabamas and the Floridas, LSU's, all those schools. So I'm actually going to and they've got 2 national championships, right? And they've got a lot, and they're getting a lot of kids drafted. They finished number one in the SEC East the last 2-3 years, maybe. Heck, could be the last 4 or 5. So for that reason, they just always have to play Alabama is what it boils down to. And then typically Georgia's the one that gets the shaft on the national championship because their SEC championship game is a loss to Alabama. So you lose in the RPI, your RPI goes down. And so Georgia would be in a lot of national championships if they weren't in the SEC. So for that reason, they are the number 2 team on the tier list. Even though they won the previous national championship, it has nothing to do with football program. Georgia is a phenomenal football program, but Alabama is going to stay in front of you because they're Alabama. And then last but not least, we have Vanderbilt, worst team in the league. They're going to be a D tier team. Overall, I think this tier list looks pretty good. See if we've got any people commenting in the chat. Doesn't look like we do. But I think this tier list looks pretty good. Let me see if I would make any changes to it. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat about this Florida being, an A-tier program, but Florida can be in front of Auburn or Ole Miss. It's just the last few years have really been kind of lackluster for them. I'm going to put them in front of Ole Miss as a football program. I'm actually going to put them in front of Auburn too, even despite the last 2 years that they've had football. I mean, Florida with 3 national championships, Tim Tebow, winning the Heisman, and them having a lot of years of success. You can't really throw off the 3 years that they've been kind of set back. So I'm going to throw Florida as the number 1 A-tier team, followed by Auburn and Ole Miss.